And our first topic, today's Breer Report, is the Washington Commanders and what we saw and learned about the Commanders this weekend, what the quarterback showed once again, and I think what feels like a completely new team. It's almost like there's an expansion franchise in Washington, looking at where they are versus where they were even 2 or 3 years ago, and where Dan Quinn's got that football operation going, where Jaden Daniels has the organization positioned. And really, to me, this is more about resilience than it is excellence. We've seen excellence over the course of the year. They still have a ways to go from a roster building standpoint, but you've seen flashes of where this could be a team that can achieve a level of excellence. What I was more impressed with on Sunday was the level of resilience we saw. And, what happens with a lot of these organizations and, with the fan bases around them is history can follow you. And good history can follow you and bad history can follow you. So, over the last few years, good history has followed the Chiefs. They expect good things to happen. When they get into tight spots, they expect to be able to fight out of them. Same way the Patriots did before them. Then you have teams on the other side of the spectrum where it's like you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's really what Washington has been for the last 25 years, for as long as Dan Snyder owned the team. And so I think what we've seen in Washington isn't just a change in the people that are running the organization, from the owner to the general manager to the head coach. We haven't just seen a change in systems or schemes or culture. We've seen a change in mentality in that organization. And the mentality of that organization now is not that the next thing is going to be the worst thing in the world. It is not that when something good happens, something bad must follow. It's that when something good happens, you're going to build on it. And when bad things happen, you can fight through them. And, like this is a team, of course, that, again, from a roster standpoint, isn't there yet, but they were able to fight through a 3-game losing streak in November. Jaden Daniels' play leveled off a little bit. You might have thought, like he's hit the rookie wall, but he was prepared for it and got through it. And I think one of the keys here is having people in charge, and people in prominent places who've been through a lot. So, you look at the head coach, Dan Quinn, he's been through a lot. He got fired in Atlanta after bringing that team to a Super Bowl. He had to go back and reset, spent 3 years in Dallas as the defensive coordinator, learned a lot. Jaden Daniels spent 5 years in college, started 55 games while he was there, had ups and downs, was at Arizona State when they went on probation, had to live through that, had to transfer out. Saw the other side of the spectrum, which was going to a place that, LSU is great, but had to deal with high expectations, the pressure cooker of the SEC, which was a lot different than what he dealt with in the Pac-12. So you have guys who have shown resilience in the past and have had to show resilience in the past leading the way. And I think you saw it over the course of the game. There's a microcosm of what we're talking about inside this game against the Eagles. Now, I don't want to go overboard. Of course, anybody watching this is going to look at it and say, well, they didn't have Jalen Hurts. And that's true. The Eagles lost Jalen Hurts early in the game, and Kenny Pickett was in for most of it. So that is a factor. Washington also turned the ball over 5 times and still won. And there was even an instance late in that game where Jaden Daniels had to manage a fire drill situation, and he did so in a way that gave them a chance to keep fighting for the win. It was on that 2nd and 3 with about 26 seconds left. Now, you might have watched that play and thought to yourself, okay, that was a designed run. Jaden Daniels tucked the ball and went, came up a yard short, and they had to burn the timeout. There's nothing much to that. Well, what if I told you that the actual play call was an RPO? And what if I told you that the receivers didn't quite get the signal? And what if I told you that Jaden Daniels fell on the sword for that and said I didn't signal quite good enough? And what if I told you that he was so poised in the situation, again, in his first year as a pro, that he quickly pivoted and decided, I'm going to take the ball and run it right up the middle. I'm going to take a low-risk play. I'm going to get down. I'm going to gain yardage where I can. We're going to call a timeout. Then the next play, they run for the first down. Jaden Daniels gets the team to the line. They spike the ball, and the game winner comes on the play after that. So if Jaden Daniels isn't as poised as he was in that situation, maybe they burn the timeout before that snap, right? But they gave themselves another bite at the apple because Jaden Daniels was so poised in that situation because he was able to react and manage the fire drill. And I'd say that goes for the whole team on Sunday. Again, overcoming 5 turnovers to snap a team's 10-game winning streak is nothing to sneeze at. So I think you saw a lot from Washington. They still have work to do. This offseason, they'll probably have to add a receiver to what they've already got. One of the best in the league, Terry McLaurin. They're going to have to extend Terry McLaurin. They've got a tackle issue they're still working through. Like, I'm not sure they know who their long-term tackles are going to be. Brandon Coleman, the rookie, has shown some promise. Their edge rushers, obviously they traded away Montez Sweat and Chase Young last year. They've got some work to do there. Corner's one spot that they've already started to address with Marshawn Lattimore, but that wasn't good either for most of the year. So they've had to manage these holes in their roster. No excuses. They've had to manage stuff in game like they did yesterday. No excuses. That's why Washington's at 10 wins right now. That's why they're probably going to the playoffs. And it's why, if you're a Washington fan, your mentality should change with your teams. That's a different mentality in that building. The sky isn't falling anymore. And I think a lot of good things are ahead.